Welcome to the Writing for Change Challenge. This challenge gets your students writing 200 words of non-fiction on important global issues, using short videos for context and guided questions. Once your students have written their 200 words, they combine text, images, and design formatting to create their very own Adobe Spark page. Finally, once students publish their Spark page to create a unique Spark URL, create a Wakelet collection in the Writing for Change Wakelet space and invite your students to upload their work anonymously to your collection via the link provided. Now it's time for our live stream to see how the experts do it.
Hi folks, and welcome to the International Writing for Change Challenge, where Adobe is partnering with Wakelet to challenge teachers across the globe to encourage students to write 200 words on a range of different topics. My name is Tim Kitchen, and let me bring my banner up so you can see me properly. There we go. My name is Tim Kitchen, and I'm Adobe's Senior Education Specialist for the Asia Pacific region. And co-hosting with me for these sessions is the wonderful Juliet Bentley. Let's get rid of my banner and bring hers up. There we go. Juliet Bentley, she is the English and Religious Studies teacher at Mount St. Michael's College in Brisbane. Juliet is also an Adobe education leader and the Adobe master teacher for the APAC region. Hi, Juliet.
Hi, good to see you, Tim.
How are things in Brisbane for you?
Beautiful and warm and sunny. It's a great day.
And I can tell you're extra excited. You've been looking forward to this session for quite a while now, because I think you're a bit of a fan of the person who's about to come up next. Our special guest for this session is the amazing Jackie French, and I'm going to bring Jackie up to the screen too. There she is. Hi, Jackie. How you going?
Hi. Wonderful. Lovely to be here.
It's great to have you with us. And of course, you're coming all the way from northern New South Wales, where we're working on a satellite connection with you. So there's a slight delay there with the audio, but we can see you and we can hear you. That's the most important thing. Our special guest is Jackie French. She's the winning author of over 140 books. Let's bring up her banner here so we can see that properly. And you can see she's also a historian, an ecologist, and an honorary wombat. Jackie, what does that mean?
That means that sometimes the wombats don't bite me when I go down the path. I think they're used to my scent.
And if we're really lucky, we'll see a real live wombat behind her wandering past. It has been known to happen. Before we find out what Jackie has done with her 200 words for the Writing for Change Challenge, let's have a look at all of the topics that students can choose from to take part in this project. Now, Juliet, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to bring in the Spark page that's actually used for this particular event. And once I bring that in, can you go through it with us so we can see
Definitely
what this looks like? As I'm scrolling through the Spark page, can you tell us a little bit about this particular video here and who this gentleman is?
So this is Dominic Trenoy. It's basically his baby in lots of ways. He has come up with this wonderful challenge, and you can look at that video and get all the instructions about how to use Spark as you complete the different tasks.
And while you're showing us the different topics that the students can choose, I will produce a banner that will give you the link to this particular page if you haven't already found it. So let's go through some of them here. What's the first one?
So the first one is, should we have to wear bicycle helmets? That's an interesting one, and it's quite topical because people are trying to get out on the bikes more often, so worth having a look at. And when you look at the page, you'll notice that there's a button there for the full challenge that will give you a video inside that you can watch before answering the questions, and underneath it you'll see that there's a button that will lead you to Wakelet, which we'll talk about later.
And the next challenge?
Could we end plastic production entirely? And this is going to be the nature of the work that Jackie is going to be talking about today.
Lovely. And the next one?
How can drivers be convinced to use public transportation? Given the situation with COVID, people have been very wary about taking public transportation. And we also had a period where we haven't used the roads as much. So that's going to be interesting. And should we produce more renewable energy or reduce consumption? A nice provocative question there. Junk food or healthy food? Can veganism change the world? Now, there are some very interesting provocative questions in that particular challenge worth having a look at. Should there be monarchies? And whilst it's depicting the British monarchy, there are other monarchies in the world too. The next is, should international flights be banned? And that, again, is quite topical. But my favorite, should homework be replaced by acts of kindness? And I've got to say, I think that there's a very important thing to be said for that. Should smoking be advertised on social media? That was the discussion we had with Brett last week.
It was a good one too. And
that
particular discussion that we had with Brett is available on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel. As we read in her website, Jackie French, I'm just going to unmute her now because we're getting some audio issues there so she can talk. There we go. And, I've just muted her again, so we'll just make sure she's unmuted. In her website, Jackie has two great passions: helping children with learning difficulties, as well as the conservation of wildlife on our planet.
So for 40 years, nearly 40 years, Jackie has studied the species in the bush, the wombats particularly, where she lives with, publications ranging from scientific articles on wombat ecology or endangered species to her groundbreaking books on theories and practices for pest and weed ecology, as well as her more popular books on subjects like backyards and self-sufficiency. However, her children's books and her young adult fiction have become treasured stories for many young readers and emerging writers. And I have to admit, my favorite remains Diary of a Wombat, which makes me laugh.
It really is such a joy to welcome Jackie to this live stream. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us.
No, look, it's an absolute pleasure. I was just thinking, one spark really can change the world. And who knows, we might even do it this afternoon.
That's true.
I love it. That's great. So, Juliet, shall we go through what Jackie has created, and let's build a Spark page out of it? Just before we do, I'm going to start sharing my screen again, and I'm going to bring across a blank Spark project. And let's just see. I'm using a Chrome browser because I just tend to find that the Chrome browser works better with Spark than the other browsers, and all the features of although it will work on other browsers. I don't recommend Internet Explorer. Not many people are.
No.
I've already logged in, and if you need to log in, you will need to log in. I recommend you log in with your school account, especially if you're under 13. If you're over 13 and your school doesn't have an Adobe account, it just doesn't work when you log in with your school account, you can log in with your Google account, your Apple account, your Adobe ID, and your Facebook ID. There's lots of different ways of getting into Spark. And once you're in there, you can see, I'm going to do a special little feature here where I just highlight a little part. The top left-hand corner, see that little plus symbol there? When you click on that, that gives you access to all the different things that you can create with Adobe Spark. And what we're focusing on is this one here, the web page. So I'm going to click on the web page now, and it's going to ask for a title. Juliet, what should our title be?
Well, Jackie has suggested passionate about plastic. And I've got to say, I really love the way that she's used the alliteration there, because she carries it on in her first sentence too. So it'd be lovely to have a look at that.
And I'll just put a subtitle here, Jackie French, because she's the author of this.
She certainly is.
I've done a title and a subtitle, and it's looking pretty dull and boring at the moment. So if I grab this little plus symbol down the bottom, it's encouraging me to add a photo. And on the right-hand side, you can see a few options here to do our photos. We could upload any photo that we've already owned. If we've taken that photo, or if we have the rights to it, we know it's a royalty-free image, we can upload that. But if we haven't got the rights to it, if it's something that you've just downloaded from Google, you really shouldn't be publishing anything that you don't have the rights to, or that isn't royalty free. So we recommend you go to find free photos. And if you click on that option, find free photos is a great way. I'm just going to do a search for plastic. And we can search for Pixabay or Unsplash, which are two incredibly great sources of royalty-free images. At the moment, it's on Unsplash, so I'll stick with that. Click enter, and it's coming up with a whole range of different images about plastic. I'm going to grab this one here because I think that's pretty cool, and that's going to become part of the title to my web page. Now, I'm going to scroll it down my Spark page, and you can see a bunch of other tools that are available. You can see we can add more photos, we can add text, we can add hyperlinks, we can embed videos, any video from YouTube or Vimeo or Spark Video. A grid of photos, a glide show, or a split layout. We're going to work with the split layouts very soon. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right now, Juliet. I'm going to click split layout.
Lovely.
And while you're going through Jackie's first paragraph, I'm going to start making this page. So what have we got?
So Jackie, can I perhaps get you to read your first paragraph? We can talk about it after you've answered the question that was there. The question was, should we be concerned about plastic pollution crisis in our oceans? Very important question.
Okay, the first thing I have done with this, and I think I chose the subject deliberately, is because plastic is inherently incredibly boring. When we think of plastic, it's just actually a heap of grubby plastic bags. And so I wanted to be deliberately provocative, slowly choking them down in the green ocean. Plastic kills humanity. Sorry, plastic kills turtles quickly, choking them down in the green ocean. Plastic kills humanity slowly, as microplastics destroy tiny fish and plankton that support the entire marine ecosystem, on which life on Earth depends.
We're just losing a little bit of the audio.
Drink microplastics from their bottles. The chemicals used in making plastic and produced while some plastics, hormone disruption, infertility. Would you like me to read it again?
Yeah, we just lost a little bit of that, but yeah, go for it. It might be, Jackie, it might be best if we...
Well, I read it again.
Or would you like me to read it for you? Because just with that one, just so we can catch it. Yeah, because my sound is perhaps a bit stronger.
Yeah.
So, plastic kills turtles quickly, choking them down in the green ocean. Plastic kills humanity slowly, as microplastics destroy tiny fish and plankton that support the entire marine ecosystem on which life on Earth depends. Babies drink microplastics from their bottles. The chemicals used in making plastic and produced when some plastics break down can lead to cancer, immune system problems, hormone disruption, infertility, brain degeneration.
And what I've done here, Juliet and Jackie, is I've chosen this picture, a royalty-free image from Unsplash, because it's got the ocean, it's got the plastic, it's even got remnants of sea creatures there. So it's amazing what sort of images you can use, and of course they're royalty-free, so there's no issue. So I'm going to go and click another split layout.
Jackie, while Tim's doing that, I just wanted to actually ask you, I love the way you contrasted the quick death of the turtle with the slow death of humanity. I thought that was incredibly powerful. Did you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
That was the good bird.
I'm sorry, you broke up a bit there.
That was the good bird, because as I said, plastic is boring for most people. If I speak on the phone.
Okay. So maybe with the next piece. Sorry.
Would you like to try on the telephone? If we use both the telephone for me to speak and
that would be a good thing.
Okay, I'll just put my phone on so you can call.
All right. While she's doing that, Juliet, I'll just move her off the screen. And Juliet, I'll get you to have a look at her second paragraph here.
Yes.
I'm going to
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to paste it in so people can see it.
Okay. So the question is, could we end plastic production entirely? Could society survive without any plastic at all? And Jackie's response was, plastic is not just plastic bags. The artificial fibers in our clothes are plastic, producing over 90% of those microfibers. Energy-efficient cars and planes rely on plastic. Yet all we need to save the earth are plastics that break down safely in the soil when swallowed. And we have them. Humans are a clever species. And I've got to say, I was really impressed by such a hopeful sentence in what could otherwise be seen as an awful one. Tim, are you going to ring? Here we come with Jackie again. Lovely. So, Jackie, I just read your second paragraph. I've got to tell you, I really loved the hope in it. I think that was fabulous. You know, humans are a clever species.
Again, what I was trying to do was grab the audience to begin with, show the disaster scenario. Once you've grabbed an audience, the middle is where you actually have the scientific bits, the point by point by point by point. But the first thing you need to do is actually hook your audience. And with something like plastics, it's very, very hard to hook an audience. So you go over dramatic there, and then you start going into what is scientifically possible. And that is actually one of the extraordinary things about plastic. All plastics can now be plastic. I like having fuel-efficient cars. I like having fuel-efficient airplanes. To do that, we need plastics, but plastics differ. You can make plastics out of milk. You can make plastics out of crab shells. You can make plastics that turn into fertilizer as they break down into the soil. We have got all these extraordinary ways of making plastics that you can eat, plastics microbes can eat, plastics that will break down in water, plastics that won't break down in sunlight, which is good because I don't want the plane to fall out of the air. All of these things we can do because we are a clever species. But we are also a conservative species. So that is why we need the social change and the political change. We've got the technical solutions. What we need now is to grab the audience, which is what I was doing with sentence number 1, sentence number 2, and sentence number 3, trying to show why it is important that this incredibly boring substance, plastic, unless you happen to be an industrial engineer, why it's up to all of us to look for solutions. But they will be political and social solutions, not necessarily.
And I think that this is the best thing about this challenge. It is about empowering young people, young writers, to make a difference, to use words, and to have a voice. And I think that that's crucial. And your comments about the science is really hope-filled. I think that that's an incredible thing for young people to understand, that we can have these plastics. We are not limited to petroleum.
We've
also too.
Yes, I can now.
In and out, yeah.
Okay. We've also got the sheer power of writing. When you write something, even if you don't want to be a journalist or a politician, speechwriter or a politician or an advertising agent, when we write, we train our brains to think logically. We train our brains to be creative. Whether you're writing about something like plastic or why you should never try and repair a bent steering rod, but always buy a new one. No matter what you are going to do in the rest of your life, you're going to be able to communicate clearly, but also imagine. And that is what you learn to write, because you are imagining the audience that you are convincing. All of us need persuasive prose in every aspect of our lives. Even if you're going to try to get someone to go out with you, you'll find persuasive incredibly useful.
I think that's absolutely true. Tim has actually put up the next question, and that was, who is responsible for plastic pollution? Individuals who buy it or companies that make it, and why?
Juliet,
And you're
can I get you to read Jackie's next paragraph on that?
definitely, yes. How can we convince politicians and corporations that only safe plastic should be legal, that rubbish plastic must be recycled into other plastics, fuel, or farms to fund research into cheaper biodegradable plastic and recycling methods? We invented plastic, a substance so versatile it can fly to the moon or survive in the deepest ocean, become a new knee or computer. Now we must learn to control plastic so we can save the world. That's really powerful stuff there, Jackie. And I'd love to know, when you talk about fuel or farms, could you tell me a bit more about that, please? I love the alliteration in there, by the way. I think that, again, it packs a punch.
I think I've probably vanished again. Can you see me? Or I wait until I come back again?
No, it's okay.
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah,
yes, I can hear your voice. I think there's a little lag.
Just keep talking, Jackie. We can hear you.
Okay, that's good. So, Tim, what sort of image will you go for here?
Well, I'm just looking through them. I'm just trying to find something that, well, have a go at this one. It's a bit hard to see with the thumbnail. It's lots of little bits of plastic. Not sure if that's going to work.
Jackie had some really interesting points about when she was talking about farms and pollution, but she was also talking about plastics being fertilizer. And I hadn't realized that that you could make plastic out of milk.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't know
if
that
we
either.
use a biodegradable product and if we have a glut, how incredible would that be?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
the idea of having the ability to use some of the funds, the money that comes from the rubbish plastics to do the research for good plastics and getting the government behind it is just spectacular. I hadn't thought about that.
No, that's all good points. It's hard to find an image that kind of captures everything that she's been trying to present here. Looks like we've lost her now from the screen. Hopefully she'll join us again in a minute. But while we're waiting for her to hopefully come back, oh, my picture is gone, hasn't it? There it is.
It has. There we are.
Let's go to the next question. What's the next question, Julia?
Well, the next question was, what are some of the ways in which you could reduce your use of single-use plastic? And it was interesting. Jackie didn't actually write a response to that, because if you look at the rest of the text, she's actually answered that in the context of the rest of her writing.
Yep.
So some of the ways we could reduce our use of single-use plastics, that's really what it comes down to. Making a point of making better choices. One of them was that we use plastics that break down, that we actually make deliberate choices about that we become aware of the product that babies are using as their teat for their bottles. So being discerning, I think, in our purchases is what she's been trying to direct us toward.
Do you want to read her final paragraph there, Juliet?
There was no final paragraph. That was me. I just said that it was important to understand why there were no words here. As you can see, the question's been answered in the body of the writing. Right. So it makes it, she's responded to the challenge as a 200-word challenge, not as a 4-paragraph challenge.
I see above.
So
let's have a look. So for those who are not quite sure how to add images and how to keep working with Spark, notice that when I went to the text for the questions, I clicked on the plus symbol and I actually chose text, obviously, because it's bringing in text. And I chose to use this format here, which is the quote format, to give it in this type of style. And then I just pasted the rest of the text in as in normal. When you click add your image, you can then go and choose your topic, which I've been choosing plastic, but I might change that or it's Pixabay at the moment. I'll change that to Unsplash, keep the plastic as the theme. And I might just do a generic plastic here. It's the word plastic, made out of plastic.
That's good.
And it's coming up to the screen. But I'm thinking with this particular image, it might not, because I can't see the whole of the word, I'll just hide that panel. I'm thinking in this case, we might change the format slightly. And instead of it being a split layout, we could change that to be just a normal image. So I'm going to change that to just a normal photo, bring it back in again. So it is underneath.
Yes.
And get rid of this layout. Oh, that's swapping the layout around.
What is?
Jackie's back with us now, which is good. So we'll bring
lovely.
it up on the screen. Hey, Jackie.
I'm sorry. We've got the most extraordinary thunderstorm happening outside, and I think that's what was interfering as it came over the. So you'll hear the flood in probably about 30 seconds.
Well, I'm often in the same boat, Jackie. So don't worry. I've been in this situation where there's been thunder and lightning, and I actually was caught with a gas explosion locally, which totally knocked me out of a global conference. So I totally sympathise.
These things happen.
You'd asked me about plastics in fertilizers and farms. Now, my actual knowledge of plastic comes from New Scientist, and that's just from skimming an article. I'm not a chemist. My last chemistry was year 10. And so I simply skim an article to see, that is possible, but other people will be doing it rather than me. But it means that I do know that we do have microbes, which will turn some plastic into fuel for even the kind of car that I drive. That there are some plastics, and in fact, a friend of mine is doing it, which will biodegrade into soils or even fertilizer for soils. It depends what the plastic is made of, and of course, what microbes you are using. Plastic can break down into extremely useful substances, as well as being recycled into other things made of the same plastic.
Yes,
it's
I was really
impressed
with that. That was wonderful.
Yes, I think the phrase used is often a circular economy, where you take a resource and you reuse it and you reuse it and you reuse it. And that's what we can do with plastic, or we can use it for something else entirely.
I think that's fantastic. Tim, are you going to show the final?
I think so. So I'll just share my screen again here. And we're still in edit mode at the moment. So if we go to the very top, you can see there's a few options. I could click preview and it will preview it as if it was online without it actually being online. Or I could go present and it will preview it like a PowerPoint presentation. We can go from one part to the next part. I could go to share and then I could publish this to the internet just by going publish and share, or I could go print and turn it into a PDF. So there's lots of different ways of presenting it. In this case, I'm going to click present and we'll see the beginning title. And then I could have a remote clicker if I was a distant away from my computer, if I was presenting this at a conference, for instance. But we'll just wait for that to load properly. I think I'm having some internet issues too. Now, if I click with my arrow or just with my mouse, we jump into the first section here. And Julia, can you just reread that paragraph again for us now that we're in presenter mode?
So the question was, should we be concerned about the plastic pollution crisis in our oceans? Plastic kills turtles quickly, choking them down in the green sea. Plastic kills humanity slowly, as microplastics destroy tiny fish and plankton that support the entire marine ecosystem on which life on Earth depends. Babies drink microplastics from their bottles. The chemicals used in making plastic and produced when some plastics break down can lead to cancer, immune system problems, hormone disruption, infertility, brain degeneration. The next was, could we end plastic production entirely? Could society survive without any plastic at all? Plastic is not just plastic bags. The artificial fibers in our clothes are a plastic, producing over 90% of those microfibers. Energy efficient cars and planes may rely on plastic, yet all we need to save the earth are plastics that break down safely in the soil when swallowed. And we have them. Humans are a clever species. That was lovely. And who is responsible for plastic pollution? Individuals who buy it or companies that make it. Why? How can we convince politicians and corporations that only safe plastic should be legal and that rubbish plastic must be recycled into other plastics, fuel, or farms to fund research into cheaper biodegradable plastic and recycling methods? We invented plastic, a substance so versatile it can fly to the moon or survive in the deepest oceans, become a new knee or computer. Now we must learn to control plastic so we can save the world. What an empowering ending sentence.
Delightful,
And there
isn't
was
it?
a last question, but the last question really was answered in the body, Jackie, I think. What other ways do you think, though, people could reduce the single-use plastic?
I think simply look at everything that you buy. In fact, buy less. It's the old thing of reduce or recycle. Yes, bottles of water are useful, but you do not need a new plastic bottle every time. And in fact, the water from your tap is probably better quality than you will find in that. When you buy a piece of clothing, look at the label, Mabel. Find out what it is made of. And for that matter, actually feel the quality. Is this going to last for 10 years or 20 years? Can it be reused? Will someone else want to use it? Simply look at what we are using and what we are purchasing and think, can it be done differently? I come from an era which was pretty much plastic free. I grew up in the 1950s. Even when you went to the chemist, they had a dispenser. So you had no little plastic bottles. You put out glass milk bottles, and the milkman's boy actually ran street by street by street, giving you new bottles. As kids, we made our pocket money, asking people, do you have any bottles to recycle?
So did I.
We survived really well without plastic in our day-to-day lives. But where plastic is extraordinarily useful is in things like aircraft, a whole range of technology where the malleability of plastic means it is light, it is cheap, and it is extraordinarily versatile. So in our daily lives, yes, we can probably make do with just about wood and glass and pottery and the things that our ancestors have used for thousands and thousands of years. But if we want to fly across the globe, if we want to go to Mars, we need plastic. So that's actually really like about Mars.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for your contribution to the 200-word Writing for Change Challenge. We have appreciated your support, and I'm sure you have inspired many teachers to now set this as a challenge for their students.
So, Jackie, tell us about your current writing project. I think Fire Wombat for the 3 to 3+. I know, as I said, my favourite book is Diary of a Wombat.
Yes, Fire Wombat has just come out. It's the true story of a small wombat who staggered out of the smoke at 2 a.m. when I was running a food and water station for wildlife in the middle of the fires here from November through to the end of January last summer. So that's for 3+, and completely on the other spectrum, we've got The Angel of Waterloo, which is for adults, though 14+ can read it. It is really about how our nation became as it did because of the Battle of Waterloo, how Waterloo completely shaped the formation of our nation. But it's also when we think about the massacres and the tragedies of colonials versus Indigenous Australia, there were also times of extraordinary friendship and love and partnership where both worked together. And this is about 2 of those times where groups of women with different coloured skin come together to create a society which did not last very long at the time, but possibly we might work towards again.
And we're coming to the end of Neighbourhood Week, but what a wonderful suggestion of reconciliation and acknowledgement of country. I think that's wonderful.
And Jackie, what's the best way to purchase these books?
Go to a bookshop.
Yep.
Go to a library. If you go to a library, you don't have to pay for it. You can get as many books as you want. Go to a bookshop. Go online. I think any bookshop will probably have them, though they probably will have to pre-order Fire Wombat for you, because I think the first print run is just about sold out.
And the Angel of Waterloo will be available on the 1st of December, so just in time for Christmas presents.
I hope so.
Oh, that's terrific. Jackie, is there anything else you wanted to share with us before we finish off this interview?
Yes, I would. Look, it is so much easier to rewrite than write. To anyone who is hesitating, to any student who is hesitating, please just write. Trash is your friend. I have never written anything which has worked, that I haven't had to trash over and over and over. But once you trash, it gets so much easier. So never think you can't do it. Of course you can't do it, but you can redo it, and you can redo it, and you can redo it. And on the second try or on the 10th, you're going to soar like the eagle. You'll make it.
That's fantastic.
Well done. Well, folks, join us live next Thursday, the 19th of November at 5:00 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time to meet journalist Shelley Lloyd from the ABC, and she'll be sharing her 200-word Writing for Change challenge. Also, for the next episode, or not EduTech, we've done that one, so I apologise about that. But the next Inject Creativity Live event is on the 18th of November, and Juliet, you're going to be our guest for that event, which would be lovely. It'd be nice to have you back in that particular show. So that's next Wednesday, and that'll be at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And for the first time, it'll be live on the official Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
Lovely. Well, I've got to say thank you for that, Tim, and a special thank you to Jackie French for joining us today. I'm looking forward to reading your books, but also seeing all of our viewers next week to listen to Shelley Lloyd.
Lovely, and many apologies for that thunderstorm. I'm so sorry about that.
Hey, we got there in the end.
Well, we had a lovely. Well, but the time we had was lovely, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone who's been watching us live. And we've had some interesting comments from India and from the UK and all sorts of places. So thank you very much for watching us live. Those of you who are watching the pre-recording or the recording of this, join us live next week, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Until then,
Tim,
yes, Julia.
My last little bit, Jackie, I just wanted to let you know that my students at 7F, particularly at Mount St Michael's, absolutely adore you, and they will be so happy to know that at least I let you know how much they care.
That's lovely.
So thank you.
Please send my love to 7F, definitely.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
What a great way to finish. All right, thanks folks. All the best, and keep being creative.
Bye.
Put your thumbs up. Thumbs.
Definitely.